So we just got in the tragedy of the news of the number of unemployment claims that were filed in the last week. Let's throw up that graphic. 6.6 million first-time filings for unemployment, 10 million filed in the prior 2 weeks. That's a total of 16.6 million people who are now unemployed. Now, according to what I'm seeing here, that is 10% of the entire American labor force that has now filed for unemployment. Just to put that into perspective, I mean, and it just demonstrates to you the scale of the economic crisis that we're living in right now and how so much of what we have in place is just not going to do the job.
And this was even worse. Economists were predicting 5 million claims last week. So this exceeds even what were already incredibly dire projections. They're now saying we're likely to see 20 million unemployment claims this month. That would project out to about 15% unemployment. And let's keep in mind, too, I mean, how many stories have we heard about people calling 10, 50, 100, 800 times to try to be able to file for unemployment? We know the systems are so overburdened that many people who are trying to file haven't been able to get through. So even this number is very likely understating dramatically the number of people who are out there actually trying to get on the unemployment rolls. And we just got the news yesterday, too, that we reported on that a third of renters couldn't make rent this month. And again, these are early days, right? We're only going to see things continue, this trend to continue, and people who had a little bit of savings are going to run through those savings very quickly. They're not going to be seeing those $1,200 checks for many of them quite some time. So yeah, it's just unbelievably dire straits that the country faces right now.
It's only been a month. I mean, it's only April 9th. Like, it's only 3 days after people couldn't make rent. So what are we going to do when May 1st comes around? Because there's no indication right now that is, things are going to just get better. And this is why we've been pushing so hard on the show for policymakers to actually live up to this moment. I mean, right now, the Paycheck Protection Program, today they're scheduled to give it $250 more billion out of Congress. I think that's great. But, $250 billion is just not enough money to pump all of these people to pump all these businesses with enough money in order to make payroll. And I mean, there's a little bit of good news. The Federal Reserve says they're going to buy up $600 billion worth of those loans and effectively provide $2.3 trillion in loans to help support this economy. It's good to see the Fed actually acting on behalf of small businesses and workers for a change, even though it took quite a while and it might be a little bit too late. But it's still not going to meet the scale of the crisis. We've got to get the Hawley and the Bernie level plans of meeting people's payroll directly paid for by the government almost immediately, or we just 20% unemployment in this country, or 20% labor force of not working, and 30% unemployment is just a different country. It's just the dynamics of that country. It will change so quickly, so rapidly. The rage of if you don't get people exactly at least back to the struggling baseline from what they were, it will change our politics forever. And we just need to see more recognition from people that that's the case.
That's absolutely right. It's pathetic how few people in this town even actually really care.
They're not even here, the senators.
They're literally not even here. You may be out there having to risk your life to stock the shelves, to deliver the goods, to ring up the goods at the cash register, to work in our hospitals as a frontline medical provider. You have to do that. But our legislators aren't here and can't even vote remotely in order to get anything done, and become outraged when anyone suggests that maybe they should come back to town to actually do their jobs. It's absolutely pathetic. And let's keep in mind, too, that what we're seeing in these unemployment numbers are people who have outright lost their jobs or most of their income. There's a lot of people beyond that who have taken major, major hits, who already were in precarious positions, who aren't earning nearly what they were earning before, that aren't even reflected in those numbers as well.
Exactly right. And, I'm hearing stories all across the country. By the way, it's a good reminder, if you have #rising stories about how this crisis has affected your life, please tweet that out, your story. We'll be able to share it on the show. But I'm reading stories of people who are freelance workers, right? Yeah. Worked in 20 different states, who travel all the time. What are they supposed to do? File for unemployment 20 different times? I mean, there's always going to be special cases. These government programs, which have means testing or which have all this other stuff, it never works in time. It will never meet the rapidity of the crisis that we face right now, which is why it has to just be universal up front. This is what we said with the direct cash payment.
Yeah.
Give it to
Just get 'em
everybody
out.
and tax it back.
It's the easiest
Fine.
thing.
I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world. And there's just so much resistance right now to that type of thinking that I really fear we're in for it in a couple of months from now.
Yeah. Well, as you said, the bottom line is they're not even here.
Yeah.
Not even here to deal with it. So it tells you everything right there. All right, we're going to have more Rising for you after this.